Boris Johnson has a reputation as a player. Therefore, the British Prime Minister must have felt in his element with his latest announcement. Now is the time to make a series of big new bets on nuclear power. That's what Johnson announced in his house newspaper, The Telegraph. His declared goal is, we cannot allow our country to be dependent on Russian oil and gas. Johnson also wants to expand hydropower and wind energy, where Great Britain is the leader, or let's say Scotland. But in contrast to Germany, the head of government wants to rely more on the nuclear option, nuclear power. Yeah. As always with Johnson, these are fairly ambitious plans. By 2030, 95% of the country's electricity could be low carbon, meaning it could come from the sun, wind, water and nuclear power, creating more than 40,000 new jobs. That's what the Prime Minister said. The core element of the energy security strategy are 8 new nuclear reactors by 2030, 1 per year, as Johnson calculated. The Prime Minister wants to use this to cover a large part of the energy requirement. By 2050, nuclear energy production is expected to more than triple to 24 gigawatts and account for up to 25% of the expected electricity demand. The project is well received in the country. Nuclear energy has broad support, and even the largest opposition force, Labour, has made it clear that it is a pro-nuclear party. This is in sharp contrast to Germany, where I'm sitting, where the nuclear phase-out is largely a political and social consensus, and the federal government rules out a change of course, despite the significantly greater dependence on fossil fuels from Russia. Instead, as is so often the case, Johnson is orienting himself towards traditional arch-rival France, where President Emmanuel Macron announced a renaissance of nuclear power this year. Great Britain was a pioneer in nuclear energy for a long time. In 1956, Queen Elizabeth II opened the world's first commercial nuclear power plant in Calderhall in northwest England. Only 6 plants are now in operation, 5 of which will be shut down within the next decade. Our goal is to be a global leader again with the technology that we pioneered, said Johnson's government now confidently. The Conservative politician is under pressure. It is true that energy costs are not only rising in Great Britain, but there it has a much stronger impact. Electricity and gas prices are skyrocketing. In April, the basic tariff rose by 54%, and a similar increase is expected in the autumn. According to experts, the measures taken by the government are far from sufficient to protect millions of consumers from energy poverty. Despite all of Johnson's promises, nobody knows how long it will really take for the 8 promised nuclear power plants to be connected to the grid. This is shown by the example of Hinkley Point C. The reactor in the southwestern English county of Somerset will probably be completed in 2025 at the earliest, so it is about a decade behind schedule. And with an estimated £25 billion construction cost, it is considered the most expensive object on the Earth. The only other current power plant project, Sizewell C in Suffolk in eastern England, will probably generate energy in 2034 at the earliest. Just like with oil and gas from the North Sea, these new plants cannot possibly be ready in time to solve our problems, is what Greenpeace said. This is where another of Johnson's ideas come into play, called SMR or Small Modular Reactor. Significantly smaller and cheaper than large power plants, the reactor of the British company Rolls-Royce should each be able to supply 1 million households. As recently as November 2021, the government invested a further £210 million in development. However, experts see open questions. Any nuclear project, including the untested and not so small SMR, is inevitably hugely expensive, blowing time and budget and leaving a legacy that we still don't know how to deal with, said Sarah Darby of the University of Oxford. And Daniel Newport of the Tony Blair Institute judged a strategy for the 2030s and 40s that does not exist to solve the current crisis. Atom is more of a long-term prescription. In the short term, energy bills would continue to rise. That's what Economics Minister Kwasi Kwarteng conceded. Analysts are particularly surprised that the government tends to neglect the abundant wind energy. An obvious solution to the acute price crisis is also still being ignored. There is still no prospect of comprehensive thermal insulation. In many places, windows are still single glazed. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.